And NewsNation correspondent Leland Vitter live for us tonight in Geneva. He's been there all week leading up to this summit. Live again tonight. Leland, you have been reporting for days now that there were low expectations, a very low bar set. Was that low bar warranted?
Warranted and not exceeded by any stretch of the imagination, Nicole. Now, good morning from Geneva. Give you the rundown. These two men did not agree on anything important. They did not agree to anything important, but they both did get important domestic political wins. Mr. Biden leaves the senior statesman, having said to Vladimir Putin a number of things that President Trump never did. Vladimir Putin leaves here with this sit down with the American president that he can take back to the Russian people. He then gave the worldwide media a very impressive list of grievances that he had, portraying Russia as the victim and America as a terrible place.
Guantanamo is still operating. It doesn't comply with anything, neither international nor U.S. laws, anything, but it still exists. There are CIA prisons operating in European countries as well where they torture people. What is that? Are those human rights? I don't think so.
Listening to Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden's press conferences, one felt they were living in different worlds.
The United States has shown the world that we are back, standing with our allies. We rallied our fellow democracies to make concerted commitments to take on the biggest challenges our world faces.
The two sides had agreed to 5 hours of meetings, but broke after just half that. Mr. Biden said his veiled threat about American counterattacks to Russia's ransomware attacks on U.S. gas pipelines was enough.
And I think that one of the things that I noticed when we had the larger meeting is that people who are very, very well informed started thinking, you know, this could be a real problem. What happens if that ransomware outfit were sitting in Florida or Maine and took action, as I said, on their single lifeline to their economy, oil?
In his 55-minute news conference, Putin gave the press a lesson in moral equivalency, comparing jailed and tortured anti-Putin journalist Alexei Navalny to the Capitol rioters of January 6th.
People came to the U.S. Congress with political demands. 400 people, over 400 people, had criminal charges placed on them. They face prison sentences of up to 20, maybe even 25 years. They're being called domestic terrorists.
Vladimir Putin has been playing this game for 20 years with 3 separate U.S. presidents without any consequences and without changing his behavior. Clearly, Nicole, Joe Biden is hoping that these past 6 days of pregame with NATO allies and the G7 allies, this new front, if you will, against Vladimir Putin, a cohesive front, will change Putin's calculus.
All right, well, you mentioned they're not changing his behavior. So, what happens if Putin continues that? He doesn't change his tactics. He keeps doing, for lack of a better description, bad things.
Exactly. Lots of bad things, and they continue to multiply. We'd spend all evening talking about the bad things, but Vladimir Putin has done. It's a great question, and you have to think about it this way. He snookered 3 U.S. presidents, and Joe Biden put out this list of 16 parts of critical infrastructure that should be off limits. He stopped short of issuing a threat, but he seemed to want to make it clear that his calculus about how Vladimir Putin would act was different than his predecessors. Take a listen.
Why are you so confident he'll change his behavior, Mr. President?
Yeah, I'm not confident he'll change behavior. What do you do over there? So when did I say I was confident?
You said in the next 6 months you'll be able to determine.
What I said was, let's get it straight. I said what will change their behavior is that the rest of the world reacts to them and it diminishes their standing in the world. I'm not confident of anything.
President Biden seems to think what will change the Russians' behavior is continuing to be more and more isolated. He said that's why it was so important he went to NATO and to the G7 before. But noteworthy, Nicole, what was missing was any kind of bluster or threats. He said he simply told the Russians what would happen, but was careful not to use the word threat and careful not to talk about military action.
Well, and certainly a candid reaction there from President Biden. All right, Leland Vitter live tonight for us again in Geneva, Switzerland. Thank you.